Good day again. It's Dennis Salani, People's Channel. Let's talk about reading. There is a popular saying that says, reading makes leaders. Readers are leaders. Readers are winners. I want us today to look exactly at what it means, readers are leaders. Yes, indeed, readers are leaders. Readers are leaders because people who read, people who take to reading, people who have made reading a pastime, a habit, they are an ocean different to people who don't read. I will explain that. But before I come to that, let us look very quickly at why it was said, and it continues to be said, that readers are leaders. In life today, in society, where you are and globally, people who stand out in the crowd and provide leadership in various aspects of life are people who are glowed with information, people who are armed with information and knowledge on whatever aspect is at question. For example, in a company that you are working for, the person who is at the front seat is a person whom you rely to when it comes to information about the sector where you are engaged, information and knowledge, and of course expertise. I'm not saying that you and the rest of the people in your institution are not knowledgeable, but what I'm saying is that you wouldn't ever select someone whom you doubt with information, whom you doubt the level of knowledge and expertise to lead your institution, whether that is a motor car production company or an aeroplane fixing company or a government institution or a sports organization. Whatever organization you are, the person that takes the lead is the person whom you know that you rely on day and night, because that person has got information. Now, information and knowledge do not come easily. They come through endeavors, and top of all these endeavors is reading. That's why we say readers are leaders. Now, reading, it's something that you cultivate. It's something that you take to, you start until it becomes a habit in your life. So now, today, that is exactly what I want us to look at together. And at the end of this discussion, I'm going to ask you to forward your comment on the tab of comment to add on what I'm talking about, so that we can put together this knowledge for future discussions. But for today, reading is an activity through which we unlock the world. Reading is an activity that gives us the key to the safes and treasures of knowledge and information that we use in various aspects of our life. Reading is an unlimited exercise. What I mean by that is that you can read a newspaper, and for that matter, you can read an outdated newspaper. You'll still benefit. You'll still get knowledge. You'll still get information. You'll still get abreasted, updated with knowledge and information that you can use, that you can apply for your advantage on and for the benefit of others around you. You can read newspapers, you can read periodicals, you can read magazines, you can read books. And when we come to books, books are divided into two categories, fiction and non-fiction. Let's start with fiction. Fiction is largely meant to entertain you, but at the same time informing you and educating you, because all or almost all fiction writers base their writing in research and in facts of life. Let me give you an example. I am an avid reader of James Hadley Chase. James Hadley Chase series are stories that are based on actual crime and how various law enforcement agencies combat crimes at all levels of society. Now, the difference between James Hadley Chase books and a book that has not been researched is that once you go through the pages and you go through the veins of the book, you get to understand, you get to realize that this book is based in real life. This book is based on practical occurrences. It's not something that a person just pieces up very quickly in order to make a quick buck. No, it's something that is based on life. It empowers you, although it looks or it is based on fantasy. So the first category of books, it's fiction. And the other category of books that we must read, it's non-fiction or factual books. I'm going to discuss in another video how to develop a balanced habit of reading. But today we're just going to look at what material should we read, what materials should we engage with in order to benefit, in order to get information and knowledge that will assist us in life. Because one thing that we must understand here is that you don't engage with any book, any newspaper, any written material and remain the same. You undergo change, and for that matter, you undergo significant change, because you add upon the knowledge that you have, you add upon the information that you have, and you add therefore upon the awareness and consciousness that you have, the confidence that you have, and your approach to life and your outlook to life becomes enhanced in a very positive manner. Now, non-fiction and factual books deal with different aspects of life, things like how to do, what to do, things like history, religion, theology, philosophy, psychology, health and hygiene, education, organization, and everything that you can think across. The list is endless. Now, let us look at it this way. If we took a person and we placed that person in a room for 5 years without reading anything, virtually anything at all, and we placed another person on the next room and we supplied that person daily with newspapers, periodicals, magazines, novels, fact books, and after 5 years we opened the doors and we let these two people out and we asked them various questions on life, various questions on health, various questions on latest developments, various questions on technology. Who in your understanding, in your assumption, between the one who was in the room for 5 years with nothing to read and the one who was in the room reading grossly for 5 years, obviously the one who has been reading for 5 years will come with most answers to the questions that will be posed. And that is exactly the understanding that I want to have when we talk about reading, and when we try to dissect the understanding of the phrase that readers are leaders. Yes, readers are leaders, because readers, people who read, they gain more information on the area that they engaged on. Now, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this dumb question, and please pardon me if this question doesn't sit well with you. Do you read? Do you read? If yes, what do you read? And when I say what do you read, I mean, what do you read more frequently than other stuff? Do you read newspapers more than books, or do you read books more than newspapers? If you read the newspapers, what do you read in newspapers? Sports report, politics, current affairs, health matters, finance matters. What do you read? I know of people who read horses, how horses ride, which horse is likely to win the race today. You find people in horse racing places sitting grossly absorbed on horses, looking at the patterns, the performance patterns. That is reading. I'm not criticizing, that is reading. They read newspapers, and in the newspapers, their most popular section is about horse racing. Now, in the field of horse racing, they are miles ahead to someone who doesn't read anything about horses. People who read about politics, they are miles ahead in politics compared to people who do not read politics at all. Now, read whatever you like, but also read what you don't like, because in life you have to use information that you like and also information that you don't like. It's not possible that like will only present to you things that you like only. For example, you could read a book on how to survive in the jungle just because you got that book and you didn't have another book at that time. If you had a choice, you would rather be reading about how to cook a very savory dish of potatoes and fish. You should be reading about recipes. But once in your life, it is possible that you will be in a situation where you are touring in an aeroplane and the aeroplane encounters a problem and you are expected to escape using a parachute. And you'll find that you remember something about the use of parachutes, but the day you read about that, you were not interested at all because you never thought parachutes would mean anything in your life at all. So what I'm getting at here is that reading is something that you should enforce. You should read what you like and read what you don't like. If you are into construction, don't read only books that deal with construction and measurement. Read also about books that talk about first aid, because life constitutes of situations where you need first aid. And one of those days, there could be no one nearby to hand over first aid. You'll have to do it for yourself. That's what this discussion is about. We want to encourage one another to read so that we become leaders. We want to encourage one another to develop a culture of reading, to read widely. Let me give the closest example of myself. If you could give me a page now and ask me how many books you have written, I couldn't remember all of them, because the one that I'm currently reading is Your Best Life Now, written by Joe Osteen. Before I started that one, I read a Rich Dad's Guide to Investment, and this one is written by Joel Kiyosaki. And it's not only fact. I'm not only reading the books that talk about building confidence, building a positive outlook in life. I also read for amusement. I also read to catch up on the state of our global politics. Now, the same should apply to you. If you have not been into reading, start reading now. If you are into reading, bravo, congratulations, you are on the right track. Reading is not like investing in shares. You don't see the results in 1 week. You don't see the results immediately. But let me remind you that the knowledge that you possess as you read, it won't be erased under any situation. It won't be taken out of you by anyone else. No one can dispossess you of that information. It makes you a leader, because knowledge is power. Information gives you knowledge, gives you the drive, gives you power. You are empowered. You are always on high gear. You don't look at life doubtfully. You are not a doubtful starter. Reading makes you a king, a queen, a leader, a driver. Why do we have national coaches on sports? Because those are the people who have got more knowledge than others, more expertise than others, but more knowledge. That's why those people are taken to the forefront, because they, one way or another in their life, they have displayed that knack, they have displayed that quality of having information, of having knowledge. And once you have knowledge, you develop ways of applying that knowledge for your good and for the good of the others around you. Knowledge and information do not stay dormant in your head, in your body. It finds ways to get out and embrace other people's lives. It's your charity because it begins at you, but it goes out and helps others. Now, as I told you, when you read, there is something that I also want you to remember, because I know you're also reading. You're also into reading like myself. One time I was reading Monsoon by Wilbur Smith. It's a very huge novel, and a large section of the knowledge talks about people who are sailing on ship, and as they're sailing under difficult conditions, they encounter hostile ships of pirates. Now, because I've been hearing about pirates at a distant level, and now here was a novel that I could see it is spot on life in the sea. Believe you me, I couldn't sleep. For 2 days, I ran through the novel. It was so amazing, so thrilling. It was a thriller. It's still a thriller. I'm still going to read it again. It's a thriller because it took me from my room, it took me from my bed, it put me in the sea. I found myself right in the sea, in the ocean, where the occasion was taking place. I could imagine myself as one of the frightened, scared victims in the ship, not knowing what next, because the ship of the pirates was pouncing at full speed, and they meant business. Because when pirates pounce on your ship, they're not there to check if you'll be scared or not. They are there to take their loot, and if needs be, they also take your life. That is where amusement counts. That is where reading a novel counts, because you don't become a passive recipient of that information sleeping on your bed. You are transjected into the scene, and that makes your brain alive. The electrodes on your right brain and your left brain spark like two terminals of electricity, and guess what? Your creative awareness is sparked into life. It's rejuvenated, it's reignited. You become parallel creator of that situation. You become deeply absorbed and imbibed in that situation. And another thing about novels is that the novels end in suspense. While you're still expecting more, while you're still waiting for the driver, who is the author, to lead you to the destination, the author leaves you just before the destination, and you find your way out. That adds to your creative awareness and your creative ability. That's why it is said that readers are writers. Once a reader, you become a writer. You become a writer, because reading and writing are two sides of the same coin. But what I'm saying is that reading is not a waste of time. Reading is a beneficial activity. You benefit in many ways. You benefit in immeasurable ways. Non-fiction, we don't even want to talk about it. Let me talk about myself now. I'm reading a book that teaches me a new language. I'm learning Spanish. I'm slow, but I'm getting there. Buenas mañana, good morning. Buenas noche, good night. In 5 years' time, when I go to Spain, I won't need an interpreter. I will only need a tour guide, because I don't know the geography of Spain, but I won't need anyone to teach me from A to Z. I won't need someone to tell me if I'm getting robbed in the exchange, because when you go to another country, you are getting to a completely new situation where you use a new currency. Now, when you use that currency, you don't know whether you are using more than necessary or less than necessary, but actually more than necessary, because the people with whom you are trading, the people from whom you are buying, they want to make a quick profit. I'm not saying people in foreign countries are rude to tourists, but I'm talking about the possibility. Now, as I'm engaging, as I'm reading, I'm learning from this non-fiction book of new language. I am spending time well invested. Even if I don't go to Spain in my life, I will have knowledge of this language, this beautiful language, the language where soccer grades come from. Now, choose the area of non-fiction that you want to benefit information from. It could be in theology, in religion, in politics, in philosophy, in psychology. Do you know that the problem with many people who are negotiating for other people, like trade unionists, like people who negotiate for wars to come to an end, they get it a little bit difficult because they don't know how to read the minds of other people. Most of them, not all of them. But if you knew how to read the mind of the next person, you should know the angle at which you approach that person. So if you read a book on psychology by Sigmund Freud, for example, you are not whiling away time for no reason. You are investing your time and energy and money if you buy that book, because it will benefit you and other people for the rest of your life. Now, reading does not involve buying. You don't always have to buy something that you read, because if someone that you're associated with, you're close to, has got a book that you would like to read, you can borrow, as long as you're honest enough to return the book after reading. But if you have money, it's good to have your own collection, because when you have your own collection, you have the liberty, you have the freedom to revisit the whole book or a section of the book that you feel you need to go back to for one reason or another. So you can buy your own books, or you can go to the library, you can borrow books, you can go to the internet. There are many platforms in the internet that offer book services. I will mention a few here, but I'm not promoting anyone. I'm just giving you an example. Now, if you go to any engine, search engine, whether it's Google, whether it's Yahoo, whether it's webmail, there's a section about books. And most of the search engines, they have made it possible for us to make our own reading list, to save our own reading list in their website, in our email account, so that anytime you can be able to log into your own email account, get straight to the book that you have saved, and get reading. You can even place it offline, so that even if you are not having a good supply of bundles for internet, you can still engage with the material. Now, before I leave the websites, these websites, they also provide research papers by different scholars. So when you want to go for advanced reading on specific topics, you can go for research papers. For example, there are research papers on global changes, global warming. There are research papers on the effect of wars on the polars of the world. There are books on the global state of the economy, what causes the economy to drop, what causes the economy to go up, the fluctuations. And I think everyone needs to know, because everyone is working hard for money. So how can we work hard for money but we don't want to know what is the heartbeat of money? What controls the movement in the stock market? So we have a lot to read. We won't finish reading, but at least let's start. Let us not be caught napping. Sometimes you'll want to vie for the presidential position in your country. And you don't have to be blank. You don't have to be tabula rasa. You must have information about your health, about health of other countries, about education in your country, about education in other countries, which countries have good education systems, which countries have got bad education systems, which religions are working for world peace, which religions look like they don't care about world peace. All this stored in books. All we need to do is to engage in reading. So we need to be reading. Readers are leaders. Readers are leaders. Without knowledge and information, you won't be able to make a tick in life. You won't be able to make a difference in life. You won't be able to change the world. President Nelson Mandela said, education is the weapon with which we can change the world. We can make the world a better place for all, as Michael Jackson said in his popular song. And that only comes through reading. So you can read books, you can read all types of material that you can lay your hands on. You can read books from the library if you have one in your area where you live. But there are some areas like where I'm staying. Can you imagine where I'm staying? There is no library. In this century of our life, no library. Even the internet, we struggle. I'm in South Africa, and this is a fact. Despite the fact that South Africa is a leading example of democracy, we're suffering here, especially here in the rurals, in the villages, the outskirts. We fend for ourselves, but despite all that, I'm one of the best readers. Now, you can also go to specific websites. For example, J.K. Paulson is one of the websites that benefited me a lot, because there is a program there, there's a campaign of reading. Jake Paulson, it's JACKIEPAULSON, jakepaulson.com. Lay your hands across the spectrum of reading material that Jake Paulson offers. Another one that I'm also subscribed to is Tai Lopez. TAILOPEZ, tailopez.com. If you have time, visit the website. There is a section where Tai Lopez talks about a book that he has read and shares the information with the subscribers and the visitors to his website. He analyzes a book every week, but Tai Lopez, according to what he says, and I believe it's true because he has demonstrated that he reads a book every day. That's a record that I also want to achieve, and if possible, stay glued to it. Now, let us cultivate this culture. It's a very beneficial culture, the culture of reading. Read widely. Read as much as you can. Encourage people around you to read. Read the Bible. Unlock the secrets of how the Creator started life, because the Bible is one of the is the chiefly authoritative source of information, undisputed history-wide. It won't be disputed because it talked about how life started, how life is it now, and how life will be in the future. Read the Bible, read anything that you can lay your hands on. Let us build a nation, a world, a globe of readers, so that we can turn the tide around, so that we can make that change, so that we can make the world a better place for all to live in. With this discussion, I'm leaving you here. But as I said, please take time to leave your comment in the section appropriate for that in this video. Let me know. I highly value your feedback. Thank you very much.